sometimes, just as I'm about to fall asleep at night, for a peaceful, restful, much-needed sleep, my brain will decide, for no reason whatsoever, to, at that moment, remind me of a humiliating or regrettable incident from my past, often decades before. And these moments, often trivial and inconsequential, really, will then haunt me for the next 8 hours, weeks even. These small little moments will replay over and over in my head. Terrible little moments as well, not important. Like the time I once met one of my comedy heroes, Reece Shearsmith, and said, "Hey, it's so nice to meet you." Or one of the times when me and my wife were trying for a baby, and I sent her a jovial message that said, "Hey, let's get you knocked up." But I accidentally sent that to my mum. These moments will haunt me then for a long, long time. And I feel like we all have these horrible moments that we just can't get out of our heads, these dead flowers that we continue to water, and we give them power and real estate in our brains, and we should just let them go. We need to get rid of them, okay? And that's what this podcast is all about, okay? So welcome to the Stop Watering Dead Flowers podcast with me, your host, Chris Forbes. Stop watering dead flowers. And I'm delighted to say that my very first guest is Stuart McPherson.
Hello, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on, Stuart. I think it's fair to say, as a way of introduction, that you are one of the best stand-up comedians in the whole of the UK right now.
That's very kind. Thank you.
You are a co-host of, I think it's fair to say, the best comedy podcast in Scotland.
Sure.
Some laugh.
Yeah, not the UK, crucially. You just got to look at the numbers for that.
And also, I mean, we've known each other from stand-up, but we also know each other from Scottish Squad, where you were a star not only in front of the camera, but behind.
Mm. Can you be a star behind the camera? Not with what I was doing.
Pivotal. A pivotal role.
Yeah, star. I think to be a star behind the camera, you got to be like Spielberg or something, don't you?
You were my Spielberg.
Saying, can you do that again, Chris? But say it right this time.
Now, what would you say you are as a person in terms of letting things go generally? Are you quite good at, if something happens, you're quite good at going, "Oh, that was terrible," but you let it go? Or are you someone that holds on to moments?
I think as I age, I'm getting better at letting things go. I also just, I was very pleased to be asked to do this. What a great way to spend your Monday, dredging up horrors of the past. But when you asked, I had to rack my brains, and I think what I've learned is I'm very good at blacking out bad memories now. Probably just from thousands of bad gigs.
Not dealing with them, but
no. Squash them down.
Yeah,
we don't need
it.
them. They're holding us back. That was kind of my family's approach, I think. Get it down.
Yeah. That's good.
As a younger man, I was a lot more prone to the long nights of the soul, kind of, as you mentioned.
Dwelling over it.
Yeah.
Replaying it.
Now I think I'm just haphazardly going around creating problems and leaving like Larry David and not thinking about it again.
You're creating the moments for other people to think, "I can't believe that happened."
What a prick that guy was. I'm at home whistling, not my problem.
I think we wouldn't be speaking exclusively to just stand-ups in this podcast, but I think crucially comedians probably lend themselves quite well to talking about this type of thing, because it's quite a lot of the haunted topics of their lives that then will turn into material.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm now thinking, how do I rewrite this Fringe show based on what I'm going to tell you today?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. Are you bad for it?
I feel like I'm horrendous for it. I feel like it's one of my biggest stumbling blocks. And it annoys me that I know that it annoys me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because then you can get on your back about that as well.
Yeah, and I spend ages thinking about, oh God, I hope I don't end up thinking about something else for ages.
Have you done this? I used to do this classic, if you're like drunk at a party or a nightclub or whatever, and you've embarrassed yourself, and then you make it worse by the next day, texting people being like, "I'm so sorry about last night."
Even if you don't think...
And everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" Or like, sometimes you have embarrassed yourself. But I feel like that always fans the flames.
Yeah. It's always the fear of what other people have thought about your behaviour. Even if you don't think you did anything wrong, it's good to have a reassurance that you came across as somewhat normal.
You need it in writing sometimes that you've not
a bit
disgraced yourself.
A validation of decency.
Yeah, no, that is important to me.
Yeah.
What did your mum say, by the way, to that text?
She did not reply, which I think was probably worse. And I spent the next 5 to 10 minutes Googling if you could retrieve text messages. I kind of went into a blind panic of it. And then I had to call her. And that was a conversation that was very awkward.
It's such a good phrase, let's get you knocked up as well.
It's so stupid.
It's very carry on.
Oh my God. It sounds awful.
What
to
were you
think of it
expecting
now.
your wife's response to be to that, out of interest?
Just like
Thumb up emoji.
yeah, just like just a little bit of a cry laughter face, or maybe just like a funny meme. Let's do it. I don't know. It's
a screenshot of the DVD cover of Knocked Up.
I've just realised, even now doing this, that Lily, my daughter, may listen to this podcast one day and find out about this. I'm not saying
was this how she was conceived?
Well, I got to tell you something. Actually, I mean that night, nothing happened. That really was a mood killer. Having to explain to my mum and to Eleanor what transpired.
I'm not that surprised by that.
So I really think about that one quite a lot.
Yeah, I wish Freud had lived to see people texting their mums, let's get you knocked up. Yep.
Enough about me, please.
Well, you're not going to be, I know you've aired 2 there, but I assumed part of the pod would be you have an arsenal of these to whip out.
Well, I feel like all I'll try and do is drip feed some moments in at the start of each episode, but then hopefully never have to address them, but really just pinpoint your own shortcomings.
Yeah, pin me down.
So let's delve into your first one. I feel like I've tried to format this podcast in a way where we've got really particular moments, formative parts of your life where key things could or maybe have gone wrong. And I think it's important to start with a childhood memory of where something regrettable has taken place.
Well, this one is less kind of something I said, this one, but I was born in 1993. Let's take it right back to the start, Chris.
Right. I thought that was going to be the thing.
Early 90s, things were good. And then this story must take place, I'm assuming, late 90s, perhaps early 2000s.
Beautiful scene set.
The reason is it involves a yo-yo, which was all the rage at the time. Did you have a yo-yo?
I did, and I've got to tell you right off the bat, I've got no idea where this is going.
I'm not like doing anything weird with it. It's just embarrassing to think about, is all. I had a yo-yo. I was a keen yo-yo enthusiast. As a lot of my
some
pals
might
were.
say that that's already the embarrassing thing, that you were a keen yo-yo enthusiast.
Long story short, my parents, with a couple of other couples, they would have little nights, in the house drinking.
All right. I thought you were saying like a yo-yo night.
Well, it became a yo-yo night, Chris. With me in town.
A euphemism.
Basically, they would love getting me up to do little turns or whatever. And I probably did jokes or whatever on other occasions.
Yeah.
But the one that haunts me is yo-yo tricks, because I would do my yo-yo tricks in front of, my mum and dad, Martin and Janice, Bill and Fiona,
big
these
yo-yo
kind of people.
fans.
This is a big gig for me at the time. And years later, my mum and dad revealed to me that I cannot do any yo-yo tricks.
Oh, no.
They were having me on.
So, but in your mind, what were you like? What were the classic things, like walk the dog?
Walk the dog, yeah. I can't really remember the other ones.
Around the world and stuff.
Yeah,
like that?
I mean, it looks really hard to this day. I wouldn't.
What
know
were
where
you
to start.
doing? Like in your mind?
Well, exactly. I'm picturing David Brent dance with a yo-yo as a 6-year-old. Is what I'm picturing.
Oh my God! So you might not have even been doing a yo-yo, like the basic up and down. You're just swinging this thing around like a mace.
I enter stage left with the yo-yo in hand. I drop it down, and then it hits the bottom, and then from there I'm just simply just freewheeling with a yo-yo, just winging it around. I'm assuming.
I mean, when was it broken to you that you had you held on to the thought that maybe you had been actually quite good at the yo-yo until this was news broken to you?
Yeah, probably mid to late 20s.
Have you since thought, no, I was a good yo-yo, and like you've gone out and got a yo-yo and been like, I can do it?
No, I can't even look at a yo-yo now. I can't do it.
Oh my God.
It's too painful.
In some ways, it feels like it's almost heartwarming that they were encouraging you, like kind of going, "Hey, look, Stuart's really good at the yo-yo."
Yeah. I imagine they would have stopped had I, like, for example, wanted to enter the school talent contest or something
Yeah.
with my yo-yo. My dad
Okay.
might have taken me aside and gone, son, maybe
Not
read a
this-
poem or something.
Wow.
But imagine how funny that would be to the adults.
That is such. I mean, the yo-yo is such a big thing as well. It's believable that I can picture you going up and doing like what you thought was this great demonstration.
Yeah, also, like, even now, like, if I was to watch a yo-yo performance, it's a bit like when you watch gymnastics at the Olympics. I don't really know what's good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm picturing you like when Will Ferrell does the ribbon dance in Old School, but with a yo-yo.
Yeah, it probably was exactly like that. Yeah, is it cruel of my parents? I don't know. Not for me to say. It's probably one of the main reasons we're sat here today,
Yeah.
getting those laughs as a kid.
I like to think that you brought so much entertainment and joy to your parents and your parents' pals that look back and think, God, remember that wee guy Stuart used to just run about with a yo-yo and
Yeah, what a laugh.
pathetically. The yo-yo, oh my God. I used to have to get wheeled out, but I would play the accordion. So it felt like that was quite good to have a distinct set piece.
Yeah, and crucially, you can play the accordion.
Yeah, so that helped, but
I've seen you do it.
I don't know what that is yet. My daughter's not at that age where it's like, at what point do parents roll out kids? Because that is a big thing, isn't it? It's like, right,
Yeah.
do your
Do
thing.
your wee turn.
But yo-yo, yeah, it's quite a big ask. It's usually like sing a song or act out something, but
I'm assuming, my dad, like Simon Cowell or something, must have spotted me with my yo-yo and seen some potential there. That will be a laugh if we do it on Saturday night.
the yo-yo's just such a comical
It wouldn't have
implement.
looked cool even if I was really good.
Do you think you had, now that I'm just picturing yo-yos, you used to get, like, there was such a thing as like cooler yo-yos than the basic ones,
Like
like
ones
ones
that
that
light up or
flashed as
whatever,
they spun
yeah.
down and up. So
Lighting up was a huge thing in the
so maybe if you
90s.
had one of them, it was still quite good because it was at least
They were
flashing.
just, yeah.
The yo-yo.
My mum and dad were showing off to their pals, look at this sick yo-yo we managed to buy. Oh
Yeah.
boy, it lights up.
Okay. So that's where it began. Actually, bizarrely now, I don't really want to share too much about myself.
However,
But this is not a set piece, but you have reminded me of, again, similar, my parents would have other parents over and they would have little evenings of joy. And maybe earlier in the evening I had been out and maybe played the accordion. But I have no recollection of this, but even the memory of knowing it happened sometimes haunts me, which is, my mum's told me that one night when they were having friends over and up for drinks, we'd all gone to bed, me, my brother and my sister. And at some point in the night, I sleepwalked back through to the living room and ran into one of her friends. And she said that when she said hello to me, I just stared at her and then took my top off. Just took my pyjama top off, like the mask, and then just went back to bed.
imagine that from her point of view.
Yeah,
I'm surprised she even told you folks. Like,
you know.
I'd just take that to the grave, I think, if I
I
was the
feel
other
like
parent.
now that I think of it as well, like maybe that was my first attempt at saying, "Let's get you knocked up." That was like the two things have linked later in life.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Can a child, I mean, not a good podcast to this on, but can a child do a sort of sex crime to an adult? I don't know if that's possible.
Oh God,
You're in the ballpark, though.
I feel like, do you know, there was a part of me that was like, start off this podcast, want it to be humorous, but we could really like delve into some quite nice heart. But now we've gone
We've gone the other way
a
with
dark place.
Well,
there.
we can peel it back. The only thing, what brought the yo-yo thing back to me was watching the Olympic one. Ray Gunn, the Australian breakdancer,
yeah.
everyone was slagging her like she was a joke globally. I felt quite a kinship with Ray Gunn because no one's told her she can't breakdance,
Yeah.
and she's like the me of. I'm like the her of yo-yoing, but luckily it was contained to 3 couples in Burnt Island.
Do you know what I wish is that I wish I'd known that this was a story that would come up, so that for the sake of anyone that's watching this, that I could have whipped out a yo-yo and got you to try and demonstrate.
Well, I mean, it couldn't fail because it would be as good as what I did that
Yeah.
night.
Okay, well let's move on. I think if that was a childhood thing, and it's not too bad. I feel like it was the seeds of kind of an embarrassing moment, but
I just think anything like in your life where you have sat on something for not thought about it for 15, 20 years and then the truth is revealed to you, you feel like a fool.
yeah. But I think crucially as well, when you're that young, you're less self-aware, and so at the time the embarrassment isn't really that, it's not set in. You don't care too much about people's opinions. However, once you get in older and you know yourself a little bit, you're self-conscious, and you've got into your line of work. Let's say in your career, I feel like that's a place where
it's business we call show.
Yeah, but in a business environment, if something goes wrong, that can really haunt you, because there's ramifications then, isn't there? So let's try and maybe pinpoint something from your career that's maybe stuck with you.
Well, people ask you a lot about bad gigs, don't they? And I don't know about you, but as I said earlier, I'm quite good at just forgetting about them these days. There's only a handful of key bad ones that crop up in the dead of night. Right. Yeah, there's not many. I would say the most embarrassing thing that I do catch myself thinking about sometimes was actually on Scott Squad. Right. As you mentioned earlier, which, if you don't know, was a police mockumentary show. As part of that, there was like an online special thing. I don't know if you remember this, but basically the chief, the main character.
The political interviews, was
it? I interviewed as part of that for a little online spin-off kind of thing. And I want to say 2018, maybe 2019. Yeah. It was before an election. Anyway, I interviewed the major political leaders, the Scottish, which is crazy, really.
It sounds funnier even now when you say it.
Yeah, it sounds... Yeah. I don't believe that it happened, even though I did it now. It still feels weird.
I felt like it really had an impact on swaying.
I moved the needle, yeah, that year. But yeah, I interviewed Nicola Sturgeon as part of that, who at the time was First Minister, and it was a crazy day.
It's big stuff.
Yeah. And I only had it for like 10, 15 minutes. And because she's obviously very busy and everything, and so you're rushing around, you're stressed, you've not really prepared anything properly. God. Got some questions, and I was like, not young, but I was like 26 or something. Yeah, anyway, I embarrassed myself in front of the First Minister.
This is amazing. You took your top off, didn't you?
Yeah, I said, let's get you knocked up, girl. What did happen was, we were just, doing a sort of informal comedy interview. It was a bit like Between Two Ferns kind of thing, and I'm being a bit cheeky, but I'm sort of not being too cheeky. I'm not saying what I just said to you, for example. Yeah. But she said something. We were chatting about, I don't know, her other political role models or something like that, and she was like, I really like the Prime Minister of Denmark, I think it was. And I was like, what's he all about? And she was like, it's a woman. Like, women can be leaders of state these days. And like, she didn't say it to be mean or anything, but I was like, yeah, fuck, you've got me there. Like, that was just like instant reflex, like internal bias, just like 99% of the time you'd be right saying that. But of course, if you think about it for 1 second, of course.
Yeah.
And like, of all the mistakes to make in front of all the people in the world, that is kind of bullseye in it. And it's one where you're like, oh God, I've got to go on with this interview, but I want to kill myself.
That's the only thing in your head for the rest of it.
Yeah. And you're like, how can I go back to like slagging you after that?
Are you trying to crowbar in then, like other?
I was like, well, it's the character. Obviously, that's the first thing. The character doesn't know.
It wasn't you.
I'm not a fucking idiot.
Oh no. Like when you don't know someone's name, but then you find out, and then you keep using the name as if it'll make up for it.
Yeah. I start naming all the women that I admire.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing.
Jacinda Ardern, isn't she brilliant?
Did it? I think because during
Can
the
I just
interview,
shock you? I like Angela Merkel. No, just that kind of thing, just dropping them in.
Did it come up afterwards, or once you did you were in character for it, so you did it, and it's almost like believable that the character's messed up, but did you get a chance afterwards to be like, how you doing, and oh no, by the way, I knew, or was it just like
not really, because she's obviously just the busiest person in the country, so she's got 10 other appointments that day, so in and out, so you don't really get a chance to explain yourself.
Oh my days.
I fucked it.
Condescending, misogynist.
Chat shit, get banged,
I think the fact that you were in character is like the saving grace of that.
Yeah, that is.
But I can still imagine that being one of the things that would pop up in your head just once every so often.
Yeah, that does come up. That comes up.
Does anyone?
I can cut myself. So I was a young guy, I was in a stressful situation. I hadn't prepped. I've only got 2 minutes. Yeah. There's mitigating circumstances, but you said what you said to who you said it. So there's no real get out.
You ever tweeted it or something?
Wouldn't dare. And let it. This is the moral of the pod. Let it lie.
Let it lie. I know.
Don't go back.
I'm already thinking, how can we make this worse? Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, even with your story now, I'm like, oh, how could we fix that? But I'd only make it worse. I'd like double down. No, that's wise. Who else did you interview in that?
I interviewed Jackson Carlo, who was at that time the Tory leader.
Yeah.
Willie Rennie, who was the Lib Dem leader. Richard Leonard was the Labour leader.
Oh, wow.
These are some good pub quiz answers I'm giving you
Yeah.
here. And if I hadn't shaken their hands and looked them in the eye and spoke to them for 15 minutes, I wouldn't know.
No, you don't remember saying anything to them that you were like, oh no.
Not really. Not like that, anyway.
You're like, can a member of the Green Party be the First Minister?
Yeah, I feel like, if you lose your cool in front of, Willie Rennie, at the time Lib Dem leader,
yeah,
you're not gonna think about it as many times as the actual First Minister.
Do other people, because that's one's, again, it's quite a public one in that there was other people involved. There's people that are filming it. There's a bit of a crew. Is there anyone that reminds you? Because I think sometimes not just having the thought yourself every so often of something that happened in your past, but when someone can remind you of something that they've witnessed. So even if you've thought you've forgotten about something, that every so often someone can be like, oh, I remember when you said that to Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah. Mark will do it sometimes on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, if we're talking even remotely about it. What was that thing again? What did you say to him? Oh, fucking hell, here we go.
Oh, no.
Let it lie, brother.
Let it lie, brother.
Let it lie.
That's a good t-shirt. All right. Let's let that one lie. I feel like that's quite a big scale one to have been able to, let go.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't keep me up at night, but it does. When I am already up at night, it pops its head in. It shows face, if you know what I mean.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. That still happened. Don't forget about me.
Well done. It's been 3 months. You haven't thought that. But you did it. All right. Let's go on to your next choices one. I feel like I almost feel not cheeky asking, but kind of it's quite nosy to ask about one about maybe a relationship. I was going to say a relationship failing, but not necessarily a failing, but just something that's happened in a relationship where it's the most personal one to ask about, isn't it? So that's the ones that can really stick. If something's happened in an intimate relationship, then that can haunt you.
Yeah, this is ep 1 of a new podcast, and I feel like it's one of those where I'm the guinea pig. I'm on first. It takes about 10 eps to get you to figure it out.
We're not actually going to ask anybody else this question.
This is my worry. Like, I'll say something really personal.
We're like, we can't ask anyone else.
I noticed you didn't have the balls to ask Susie McCabe that question or whatever,
Can't believe Stuart killed someone. Like, this is wow.
I was thinking about this, and honestly, I don't know, man. It's hard to pitch for the relationship thing because it's like some of them are too real. Yeah. Not that it's just like in the slings and arrows of a relationship, and then I don't know, man. The one that this is a bit of a fudge because I thought of it from my childhood as well. So I'll see if you accept this.
It's fine.
It's about my first crush.
This is good.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. Nicola Sturgeon again.
I did make an ex-girlfriend cry once by criticising her pool technique.
Wow.
If you want to get into that.
What was she doing?
What was she not doing? I mean, a bridge in hand. Come on. You kidding me on?
Oh, my days.
She asked for advice. Anyway, what I've learned is if your partner asks you for advice, that is a test. You don't give the advice.
Don't ever.
Whatever you do.
Okay.
This was when I was much younger. I took her inquiry in good faith.
Yeah.
I thought she wanted to learn how to play pool.
And she
wasn't serious about it at all.
Yeah. But this wasn't the first crush. That was just somebody else.
No, that was someone else. Lisa, hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
She's very happy.
Shout out
Still
to Lisa.
follow her on Instagram.
And pool technique.
Yeah, she's not gone pro at pool, to be fair.
You might have done her a favour that day, though. Now she's, surprising people.
Hustling people in Thailand. Doing pool tricks. My first crush. This is one that I do think about quite a lot because it's just so embarrassing.
Here we go.
I'm trying to think what age I'd be. It'd be around the yo-yo era.
Wow.
Give or take. Maybe slightly older. I want to say primary 4. What's that?
Well, what was it? I was one of these people that started the kind of a slightly younger year, but primary 4. You must be about 8, 9.
8, 9. That feels about right. That feels good.
Okay.
It was Valentine's Day.
Oh no, this
It's
really
a big day in the young romantic calendar.
Yeah.
When you're 9, you think that all love is confined to basically Valentine's Day because you've seen it on like The Simpsons and stuff. You're like, this is when I make my move.
And I feel like you're quite a romantic guy, like quite a kind of... Not after whatever you're about to tell me.
Agree.
Okay.
Not after the pool. No, I would say so. I'd like to think so. Anyway, I make a Valentine's card for this girl who I fancy in my class. My cousin is round, and he's 2 or 3 years older than me.
Oh no.
He's a great guy, Rob. Shout out. But him being 2 or 3 years older, he was always like a man to look up to, even though he's 11 or 12.
Yeah.
He's also a little dipshit.
Yep.
And I think I can't remember if I asked for his counsel in what to write in the card, or if I feel like maybe we just had a conversation about it, and I used some of his words in the card. This was before ChatGPT. You had to ask your cousin. So he was world weary. He's 11. He's seen the world. He's
Well, he's seen at least 4 more Valentine's Days than you.
Yeah, exactly. He's got his mistakes out of his system. Yeah. He's settling down. So I think I must have written, I don't know what would be on it, love hearts and all the rest of it. I'm pulling out all the stops, red pen.
Nice.
And it'll be like to Kerry was her name, if you're listening. And blah, blah, blah. But the bit that kills me, and it was a phrase I got from him, and I don't know whether I asked him, but I must have said to him, older cousin, if you wanted to charm a young lady, what phrase would you put in to express your interests in a sweet, thoughtful, loving way? What might a young woman like to read in a Valentine's Day card? So I wrote, to Kerry, hubba hubba baby, Stu.
Hubba bubba baby.
Hubba hubba baby.
Oh, just hubba hubba.
Yeah, which I've not heard that for a long time. Is that like a 90s? Was that on something?
Hubba hubba.
You don't hear that often these days.
Because I was thinking maybe the hubba bubba feels like quite a very old school type of come on. But
hubba hubba, it's like from Happy Days or something.
But not even hubba bubba like the bubble gum. Then I thought
it was
maybe
not
there was
affiliated with the bubblegum company.
It was pure hubba.
Hubba hubba. What does that mean? Does that mean like, it feels to me as an adult like I want to fuck you?
Yeah.
That's how that feels to me now.
Hubba hubba.
Listen to Get You Knocked Up.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't know obviously what it meant, but it sounded fantastic.
It's such a bold choice of words for a young man.
Yeah, also like committing in pen, to words that you don't even understand.
Hubba hubba.
It didn't work.
What was the what was
Did
the
you need to know
response?
that? Yeah. There was no official response.
Was it a card you sent, or was it like a handover? She opened it in front of you.
If memory serves correctly, which is why I'm saying P4, because I can picture the classroom. I think what I did was I made the card and then I went in early and put it on her chair or in a drawer or something.
I mean, that's sweet. Everything about it was sweet, other than the hubba hubba.
That does feel like a bit of like me in a nutshell through my early years of like trying to be sweet and do the right thing, but getting it wrong and it being embarrassing.
Do you know? Did you speak to her afterwards? Did she reference it ever?
No, I don't remember. I imagine she laughed about it with her mates, and then we never spoke about it.
Or maybe they were just so bamboozled by it. Maybe she was talking to her friends like, what do you think he means? Hubba hubba. I mean...
Yeah. It wasn't easy to Google things then either. They'd have had to do it on the school computers, so maybe they still don't know.
Hubba hubba.
Baby, don't forget the baby.
Hubba hubba.
Baby would normally be the worst part of a sentence you could write, but you forget about the baby when it's preceded by hubba hubba.
My dream now is that if this podcast goes out, she listens to this and that we can track her down, get her on the podcast and ask her if she remembers it and how she felt about it. Because I feel like...
Well, she didn't marry me, put it that way.
Do you know, when something... like everyone will have just family stories or childhood stories that they get banded about in your friendship group for years. I feel like that's the kind of thing that she still talks about with friends, that it comes up, hubba,
Absolutely,
baby.
I would imagine so. I thought you meant me, and I was like, are you crazy? I'd never tell anyone this.
I feel like she's still talking about this.
Yeah. That feels like the opposite of what I thought I would get out of this podcast.
Yeah, like
it feels like you're making us worse.
But now I kind of want to do a podcast that's the opposite to this as well, where it's like I find out what's the most embarrassing thing, but then for the other half of the person that was involved with it, like what was the funniest thing that you ever saw someone do? That would be great.
Join me, Chris Forbes, with my new podcast, Bullying.
That's a good one, I've got to say. And by good, I mean it's a haunting, terrible one.
Terrible.
Hubba baby.
It's just mad, don't it, when you think about it? Like, who was that guy? Because he's still me.
Do you know, again, it has unlocked a memory in my own mind again.
Wonderful.
And it's something that pops up every so often. And it's I'm so weird at you. I mean, you've done a lot of podcasts. You must have had the thought of thinking I'm dropping in a lot of real people's names or stories. And not that I think for a minute that everyone I'm going to mention is ever going to hear this or listen to it. But I really liked a girl, and I don't have the protection of being able to say like, oh, I was really young or anything. I was at university. Okay.
You're still young.
I was at university.
You're not yo-yo young.
And I'd been to a big university event in Glasgow, Daft Friday. Okay, which was like a 24-hour party thing at the university. And a mutual friend, so someone that had come with a mate of mine, I met her and I just thought she was incredible. And like we didn't know each other before that night, but it's a very whimsical, romanticised evening of just people drinking all night, dancing, caling. So it's like a very heightened, romanticised setting. And we got to know each other very nicely, but then in the morning we went our separate ways. And I just kept thinking about it, and I kept saying to my mate, I'd love to send her something. And Valentine's Day was coming up, and they said, well, that would be a good way to like, a humorous way of touching base. Mobile phones were still very much like when I went to uni, kind of giving away my age here, my first couple of years at uni, I was just taking my mum's mobile phone in, like we shared it, and you could only have so many contacts and store like 10 messages, so it wasn't like a big thing texting each other at that time.
At least you can't text her telling her to get knocked up if you use the same phone.
But I said my mate said, well, write her a Valentine's card and I'll give it to her. But I made a similar mistake to what you did.
You don't give your mate the Valentine's card. If you've seen any high school American movies.
Yeah, no, it didn't go that way. But I just foolishly asked a mate of mine that I thought was like, he's a bit of a player. He was like, he's more worldly than me. Like I'm quite a kind of naive, just kind of, I wasn't like someone that went out on a lot of dates or anything when I was young. And I was like, what should I write in this that's going to make it sound kind of quite funny that she'll maybe want to go out on a date? And for some reason, I thought this was a funny suggestion from a mate that said, our card just said, to Cara, do you want to get some cheesecake? Love, Chris.
Was that a reference to something?
Nothing.
Because it sounds like a fun inside joke. Like you had cheesecake on the night.
There was no inside joke.
So what is that? It sounds like a grotesque pun then.
Well, I think now it's like, I think my mate thought it was like kind of funny, quirky, and the insinuation that it was like, it almost trying to make it sound like cheesecake was sexual. Like, hey, you want to get some cheesecake?
Yeah,
but
it's really
it's
not
awful.
clear.
And I would say, like, for anyone that knows me, that's like so off-brand for anything that I would ever write to anyone. And having this one magical night with someone, and it felt like this real pure connection.
Being solid.
I think about her getting this card and being like, "Do you want to get some cheesecake?"
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm so sorry, Cara.
It must mean someone else.
And I really didn't hear from her, but I did hear from my mate because I was wondering if she'd got the card, and he did mention she was like, she thought it was really weird that you wrote, "Do you want to get some cheesecake?"
I thought it was weird.
All right,
I'd love to get him on the pod, your mate. Who, explain yourself,
Simon Shaw. If you ever listen to this, I would like to know an explanation of why you even thought that was a good suggestion.
20 fuck, Simon.
That's 3 haunting things we've got through. I feel like I have been selfish in trying to pinpoint 3 particular moments in your life.
That's all right.
What I want to also ask then is, there could be something that's just happened at any time in your life that we've not explored. And so for our last one, I would ask, is there any other moment from any other time in your life that's really just stuck with you?
There was one, it's such a small thing, but there's one I dredged up in thinking for this that for some reason kind of does feel like the most embarrassing one to me.
Oh no.
also at university.
Okay.
Which university is a very cringe time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You're really trying to find out who you are.
Yeah, it's worse than school, I think.
Yeah.
For that, because you
feel like everyone else has figured it out, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, this takes place in I did English at uni at Dundee, right? And I just felt so out of my depth to begin with, because I wasn't a good student. I was kind of blagging it, and I didn't really read books. And everyone else seemed really smart. Do you know what I mean? Like, I knew that I was at it.
Yeah.
And I felt out of my depth the whole time. And everyone else, people are wearing like elbow patches and stuff and smoking roll-ups, and like these are adults that have read fucking Joyce. Yeah. No, I haven't. I was at Daft Fridays. But it was like the start of a new semester, and I don't know what year it'd be. No, it can't have been first year, I don't think. But so I'd have been, I don't know, 19, 20-ish. And I don't know why I tried to do this, but it's a classic embarrassing situation where you all have to introduce yourself in the group. So they go around the table. There's like 10 of us. Curling up already. Yeah. And no one, everyone's just saying, I'm Sandra, and I, from Kent, and I like sewing or whatever. Yeah. She sounds really boring, that person I just made up. But I don't know why I thought to do this, but I think maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it gets to me, and for some reason, 19, 20 years old, I decided to say, my name's Stuart, but instead of saying anything about myself or what I'm into, I quoted Anchorman. I'm assuming you've seen Anchorman.
Yes.
You know the bit, Steve Carell's character Brick, who in hindsight was just autistic.
Yeah.
He's got that bit where he's like, I like to eat ice cream and really enjoy a nice pair of slacks.
Yeah.
For some reason, I said that. But I also immediately lost confidence in it and butchered it.
So you said it right in the introduction.
It's a bad idea for starters.
Yeah. Right in the
really terrible thing to do.
Your whole introduction was just your name and those two things.
My name's Stuart, and I like ice cream, and really enjoyed it as slack. Carry on. It was like that, and I was just like, when you're as you do it, you lose faith in it, and you want the ground to swallow you up.
Yeah, most weekends.
And you're like, what? Who's that guy? That's not me.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Days.
But it's in my head, I'm like, this is embarrassing. I don't want to say, there's nothing. No, you can't win in this situation. But just be normal and say I'm Stuart and I like music and whatever. Don't but just get it out of the way in 1 second. Don't
an identity.
What's the best thing that can happen there? Do you know what I mean? Really bad. Really bad.
And that's right at the beginning of a pivotal
this semester's fucked, so I'll see you all in 6 months.
And there was there a titter? Was there was there anyone that's like, I like Anchorman, I got it?
I feel like there would have been at least one person that was like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But why? And
picturing just
this
is just
it felt so much like something like Mark Corrigan would do in Peep Show. That's the best way to describe it. Where you're just as you're saying it, you're like, well, fuck this. This is more embarrassing than... I'm doing this to not do an embarrassing thing, but this is 10 times more embarrassing than...
My favourite thing about that one is, open to interpretation, but to me, that's the least embarrassing actual happening of the stories you've told us. But that's the most annoying thing about these types of things. It's often just so trivial, and it's, for some reason, that one really sticks to you because of the time of life it was at. Yeah.
You're 19, you're 20, so you're on the edge at all times anyway.
Yeah.
And in life you just can't. It's a bit like the thing of texting people the next day or whatever. You can't go back and change things. So you want to stand up and have the confidence to be like, can I do that again? Because that isn't me. I don't know. I had a crazy idea to try and. You've got all these things that you just feel like you've been misrepresented. Yeah. I guess that's what they've all got in common. Is that's not me. That's you've got this idea of a better version of yourself that you're not getting across.
I think that's it. I think you've nailed it. We're trying to.
You want to say to Sturgeon, that ain't me, girl. That ain't me. I'll let myself down there.
If anything, I feel like it would have been great if you'd said that to Nicola Sturgeon for some reason.
It'd have probably gone better than it. She must have been. You should at least be like, well, this is like a comedy bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you're like, why the fuck did I do that?
Well, listen, brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing these, vulnerable moments in a person's life. I hope, even though you've been quite good at letting things go and move on, I hope that by airing these moments of your life, it will encourage you to stop watering the dead flowers, so to speak.
Thank you.
And
get the title out there.
I got to tell you, for no reason whatsoever, I thought it'd be quite funny that if by the end of a kind of series of recording these, I have a montage of guests dropping some dead flowers into a bin.
I can do that.
And that's what we're going to do. So the comfortable slacks, the ice cream, even the pool critique that wasn't even like one of the main stories.
It's not great, though, is it?
The Valentine's Day cards. This is what this dead plant will represent.
It's a little thing called symbolism.
That's what we're doing here. What a highbrow podcast. In they go.
Fuck that.
That's amazing.
I'll be thinking about that tonight as I go to bed. I got punked by punk flowers at the exact same diameter as the bin.
Oh my days. If that doesn't represent everything we're talking about. God.
I need a second bigger bin to drop that into now.
So paranoid about starting a podcast. Can't even get that right. Like, God.
We didn't rehearse that, if you can believe it.
Stuart McPherson, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I appreciate it. I feel a stone lighter.
I hope so. And listen, anything coming up in particular you'd like to tell us about?
I suppose I'm doing the Fringe again this year at Monkey Barrel.
Give it the old plug.
Yeah, rival venue to the stand, sorry guys. But I'm at Cabaret Vol 1 at 5:15 every day in Edinburgh. Come and say hi.
Brilliant. Please do check him out. Superb. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be asked. Cheers, man. All
Cheers.
the best for the rest of them as well.
Thank you. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Stop Watering Dead Flowers podcast with me, your host Chris Forbes, in association with the Stand Comedy Club, edited by the wonderful and awesome Chris Thorburn. Please like, review and share this podcast with all your friends and family if you've enjoyed it. It's a new podcast. We'd love to gather up a good following. See you in the next one.